Welcome to Being at Home with George during the time of COVID. I'm very excited to be here today and to talk about creating the possibility of embracing whatever comes up and at the same time generating hope. And today I'd like to talk about this idea of community or being in harmony with yourself and others. And it's often said, or at least it's my experiences, we're known by the company we keep. And we know ourselves through our relationships with others. And I know from my research and study of excellence and expertise and cultivating wisdom that one of the pillars of support for someone that you can determine, you can predict a person's success in a job or undertaking by three things. The first thing is by the optimism level, or what we call the Hall of Fame: hope, optimism, and faith. Second level is social support. And the third level is our relationship to a crisis, whether we see it as a challenge or a curse. So I'd like to talk about the second one, this social support or community. There's something very interesting about community because when we are in community, if you think about all communities start off with the individual self. So we have to be a self, but we have to be in relationship with others. And so my work with teams and organizations for years has been centered on this dynamic tension between the me and the we. The we is as strong as the weakest me, but at the same time, you got to develop the me in alignment with the we, having a common goal or purpose. And the interesting thing about us, especially in this time of COVID, is if we see each other as masterpieces or spiritual beings that are having a human experience, and we can relate to each other on a spiritual level, on the level where we connect, where we have commonality, a common interest, and that is survival and thriving, not surviving in life. And so I have this online course, the Mindful Athlete online course, and we have a quarterly call. We have 2 6-week study groups each year. And my idea was I wanted to create an online community, especially during COVID, so people could come together and just talk about this thing called life, talk about how we're managing COVID, but also how we are using COVID as a leveling up, a thriving in this time of need. And so last night we had our quarterly call, and we had a significant number of people that were on the call, and someone knew some were old, and I had a dear friend of mine that I worked with years ago in this stress reduction clinic, Diana. I invited her into the process, and we talked afterwards, and she talked about the cohesiveness of the group and how it was together. And even though it was a newly formed group, because we had new people, we had old people, we had folks that hadn't maybe been there for a while, and it was creating this container, creating this energy that allows people to be themselves, but at the same time be able to look at life in a way where we're focusing on how we can relate to life in a way that empowers us, that connects us to our masterpiece, that allows us to say yes, like to do what I talk about, embracing whatever comes up and generating a hope and actually having a way forward and a realization that we're not alone, a realization that we can do it in community with others. And so it's interesting that I'm here in LA, been here, this is my 10th day, and I'm staying in the same place that I've been staying in for the last 22 years. And the other morning I go down for breakfast, and there's getting my breakfast, and the cook is, I'll call him G. I don't want to tell you his name, but, and he said, "Hey, Mr. Mumford, how you doing? It's great to see you." 22 years, come back here, and it's a place, I'm in a different town, but I am in a safe place, a place where I have community, and I have friends that live here, and I'm able to visit with them. I have relatives that live here. And sometimes during COVID, we can't visit, but we have that heart connection. And I'm a firm believer in this idea of home is where the heart is. And so community is about heart, is about connecting with each other's heart. And I think during this time, even though some of us are kind of contained, or maybe we only are in one little tribe, we need to be able to expand our capacity to be with the greater community and understand that we all have this divinity, this divine spark, this masterpiece, and we have to figure out how do we talk and relate to each other in ways where we get beyond this illusion of separateness and realize I and the other are one. And it's just about how can we use this moment to really connect with each other, to connect with ourselves, to connect with each other. And so this idea of community and communion is really important. And so I'll talk about, Erich Fromm talks about the art of loving. He talks about love is productivity. When you love something, you make it grow. You labor what you love, and you love what you labor for. And so this idea of taking care of ourselves and relating to others in community he talks about 4 aspects of being loving, or the art of loving. One is care. So we know what that is, to care for each other. And the second one is to respond to people's needs. Sometimes the needs are not so obvious. So I live in the Northeast, so you might have an elderly couple that lives in the neighborhood, and they may need a hand to help shovel the driveway, or maybe deliver groceries or food to them. So it's this idea of responding. Even though they don't ask for it, we respond to it. And this is what the communities have been throughout. When someone passes away, our neighbor will cook a meal for them or something like that. So responding to their needs, spoken or not spoken. I'm not talking about dysfunctional responding, but I'm talking about responding from the heart, responding from wanting to make a difference. And so there's the care, there's the responding, then the respect. The respect is really important. So that means meeting the people as they are, not as we would like them to be, and just embracing it. Okay, this is how they are. They may not be where they need to be, but they're where they are, and can I meet them there and help them at least have the possibility of moving beyond that? And to be able to respond and care and respect the person, we need to know them. So we need to be able to observe them and see them uncritically, and to see them as a human being. And it's helpful to have kindness and to be able to just say, okay, just like me, this person wants to be happy. Just like me, this person suffers. And just like me, this person wants to have a happy life, wants to have some joy, some peace, some ease. And so this is the way that when we're in community, and it's interesting because it's an inside-out process. I have to care for myself, respond to myself, respect myself, and know myself, and at the same time being able to know, care, respect, and respond to others. So this idea of community and getting together, so this group that we have, people come together and we talk about what works, what doesn't work. And I love to say, okay, let's talk about what doesn't work, but let's spend more time on focusing on what works and what connects us. Having conversations that are harmonious, not divisive. We don't have to talk about politics or religion, but it would be nice if we could talk about politics and religion in an uncritical way, and allowing the other person to have their viewpoint and not think like our viewpoint is the end-all, be-all point of view. And that's what we need with all of this digital echo and the negativity, and just focusing on what's wrong. That pulls everybody down, and this is challenging to be feeling connected to ourselves and others when we're focused on what's wrong and not focusing on what's right and what we can do, and how we can, as I talked about last week, how we can have a grateful mind that allows us to have a great mind, that allows great things to come to us, and it allows us to be able to open our hearts and minds to others, even though they don't look like us, talk like us, or even worship like we do. But there's this ability to connect and just allow everyone to be their masterpiece, to understand that we are all spiritual beings and we're having a human experience, but we can bring the spirit into it. So it's really more about what we bring, our attitude and our effort that we bring. And if the idea is to love everything and to make things grow, then that's the way to go.